That dish was stolen from my mother. The words hit like a blade across the table, slicing through the greasy air of the failing diner. She stood with her order pad half-raised reindeer pulled into a taut knot uniform too clean for a place. That smelled of mold and fried oil. Outside the storm hurled itself against fogged windows. Each streak of water catching the jaundiced light overhead. The man in the corner booth baseball cap pulled low thick glasses masking tired eyes didn't move. A drop of water slid from his brim onto the open menu, spreading the grease stain into a slow growing shadow. The vinyl seat beneath him creaked, betraying his shift in weight. Her gaze never wavered, a quiet challenge burning in amber. "You heard me," she said again, softer, but sharper, as if the rain itself had carried her accusation straight to him. The tray was heavier than he'd expected, the glasses sweating cold against his unsteady grip. Jackson took a step, the worn soles of his shoes sliding on the slick tile. The tray tilted water, lapping dangerously close to the rims, his heart jerking into his throat. One more step and the disaster would have hit the floor, shattering the quiet hum of the room. But a hand caught the edge steady and sure. Aaliyah's fingers quick, as if they'd been waiting for him to fail right at the tray before a single drop reached the table. Her face was calm, but her eyes cool. Amber glanced over him once, weighing something. "You should be more careful," she said. Her voice even clipped. No edge of cruelty. Just a reminder, like she'd issued it before and knew it would be ignored. He murmured a thanks, adjusting the tray. But she had already turned away. Her steps were smooth, each movement practiced from years in tight spaces, weaving between tables like she belonged here more than the walls themselves. She didn't look back, didn't give him the kind of smile new coworkers sometimes offer, but she hadn't let him fall. She hadn't let him ruin a customer's meal. Jackson stood there for a beat longer than he should have, the water glasses trembling faintly on the tray. Something in the way she'd caught it fast, precise, without hesitation stuck in his mind. It wasn't kindness. It wasn't dislike. It was distance, deliberate and measured, the kind that made you wonder if there was a bridge you could ever cross. And in that small, quiet rescue, a thread had been tied between them, thin, almost invisible, but strong enough to pull at him for the rest of the night. The storage room swallowed him in stale air thick with the scent of damp cardboard and something older, like forgotten winters trapped between the walls. Dust floated in narrow beams from a flickering bulb settling on the rows of dented cans and warped shelves. Jackson moved slowly, pushing aside a stack of cracked plastic crates when his foot tapped something metallic. He crouched, dragging out a small tin box, its surface mottled with rust. The latch groaned as he pried it open. Inside, folded papers, edges, brown corners curled, breathed out the faint smell of cooking oil and time. One page lay on top, the ink faded, but the handwriting still certain, each loop and curve carrying a rhythm, the round flourishes of someone who wrote like they cooked, deliberate, personal. His eyes traced a single word in the title, and something in him paused. A shadow crossed the doorway. Jerome filled the frame. His chef's coat straw with faint stains of rosemary and smoke. Without a word, his hand closed over the tin, swift but not rough. The lines in his face deepened, not in anger, but in something quiet or caution. "Not your business, Jerome," said, voice low enough to weigh the air between them. Jackson stepped back, letting the box go, though his gaze clung to it until Jerome turned away. The sound of the latch snapping shut was sharper than it should have been, the kind that stayed in your ears long after it faded. As the door swung closed, Jackson felt the itch of unanswered questions. That handwriting wasn't corporate neatness. It was human, alive, and whatever was written on those pages didn't belong buried in the dark. The next morning, Jerome called him out early. They walked side by side through The chaos of the open market, where voices rose and fell like waves, and the air was thick with the mingled scents of fresh herbs, raw fish, and warm bread. Jerome's hands moved with a quiet precision, selecting bruised tomatoes that other shoppers ignored, a bundle of greens, still damp from the morning harvest cuts of chicken that bore no elegance, but promised flavor if handled right. He paid in crumpled bills, his eyes always calculating his choices. Never random. Back at the kitchen, Aaliyah received the crates without a glance at their humble quality. Horror. Hands were quick, her motions almost a dance knife flashing through stems. Chicken patted, dry tomatoes roasted until their skins split and bled. Sweetness into the pan. The transformation was unhurried but inevitable, like rain turning to river. Jackson stood in the corner, the steam curling toward him, carrying something